Hi guys, it's Maaike. Today I'm back with a card for Carlijn design, and it's Mother Day's card. It's also available in Dutch if you prefer, and this is the card I made. I have used for the liefste, which means for the nicest or dearest or kindest if you prefer. And I'm measuring here the letters. They are 2 centimeters wide and also high. So I'm also using looking at my card base, which is almost 15 by 10.5. So I will cut it down a little bit later just to tidy up the edges. And I'm also looking if it fits in my stamping tool, which I would advise to use if you have one, because it makes your life a little bit easier. And it's not a perfect method. But I'm using opaque bright white embossing powder to put ma, which in Dutch will spell mama, and also ma and mum if you and you can use the O as well if you want to make the English version. But yeah, this card is more about how to do it than using, of course, the products I use. As a Carlijn design team member, I probably shouldn't say that, but as always, all my cards can be used in your own way. I'm just giving you ideas. And then I have to decide which small sentiment to use as well, because there's many combinations you can make. I'm using my grid. That is just a grid I printed and then had photocopied on this overhead projector sheet. Oh, I can't say it. And I'm making sure that's straight. I'm using Versamagic ink, and I have to say that the first line was the hardest, of course, because you have to measure and think and look, and I'm using the rulers on the side to move my cardstock. But by the time I did the first line, the first ma was already a bit dry, so it didn't take much of the embossing powder, so I restamped it later. And I show you the first line and then how I calculate the second line, and then it's pretty much the same. So I left it. See, my seed is 15 and I have to move it 4 centimeters and a little bit, because there's room between the letters, of course, and also that's the bit that is not very accurate. You can do it better than me if you prefer, but I figured if a kid made it, it doesn't really matter, because mothers will love it anyway. And yeah, what I did to minimize the look of it being crooked, I also did the brick method. We call it brick method because it's slightly offset with the first one, otherwise all the M's are below each other and all the A's as well, and then you won't notice it if it's not properly lined up. But it might make lining it up easier. I haven't actually tried it. And I'm using white embossing powder because I thought that's the color most people have. You could also, instead of putting ink on it, which I'm doing later, you could or emboss it in different colors. If you, like me, have too many colors, you could do that, but then it's a very fine line. If there were solid letters, I might have done that. See, I try to put on more embossing powder while it's still warm, but it doesn't stick, so I have to stamp it again. And as I say, I put the powder tool over it a couple of times because your fingers get a bit sticky from inking, and you touch everywhere, so that is advisable. And I like wow powder because they're anti-static, so that minimizes the stray powder already. But yeah, you still get some because, as I say, your fingers are sticky and your cardstock, you know how that is. So now I have to move it 2 centimeters and a little bit, because that's the size of the letters, so I'm checking. But as I said, I don't want them below each other, so I'm moving it. But then it's very difficult to move it like this, so I'm using my grid again. So I'm just using the line in the grid, and also the magnets to keep it in place, of course. And they were a bit difficult today. But yeah, this is why a grid like this is very handy. I noticed I didn't cut the edges straight enough, so when I put it in the corner, but if you just use your edge of the cardstock to be straight, and also the lines are straight, of course. And as I said, it's not a perfect method, and you have to be a little bit quick with the embossing, otherwise the ink dries. But as I say, when you have done the first, it's easier. And yeah, this is where I left the first A off, because I thought I would do it by hand later, but then I just moved the cardstock down instead of up, and that fit as well. And sometimes you have to let it hang off the edges a little bit, but that's okay. And you could, of course, just do a little panel, let a strip instead of the whole background, and maybe just do Mama. And I'm actually not sure if in Holland we write it with 2 M's. Mama. I'm kind of torn now, because as I say, I speak English most of the time, and I watch English movies and English channels like BBC more than anything Dutch. So here's anyway my panel done, and I thought I'd put my strip on now, but then I decided against it because I didn't know, as I say, which one to use, which combo. I went for Speciaal voor de Liefste, which is especially for the sweetest mother. And I thought, well, I'll just do ink blending first and then think about it a little bit. Because there's more that you could have used. I love your mom and stuff like that. And now I'm just tidying up the edges. So yeah, where I went offline, and that makes it more visible that it's not perfect. But again, I let that go and I went with it. But I made it well, less white, so there's not a same mat around it, and I will stick it on top, straight with the top, so that the bottom edge is almost the same. And there's my cat again, because I'm talking and she thinks I'm talking to her. Go away. Thank you. I'm using Versamagic inks. You can use any inks that you have, of course. I'm using Pixie Dust, Pink Grapefruit and Red Magic. And here I decided I might want the bottom white for the other sentiment. I wasn't sure if I wanted to color the whole panel. I thought I could always go back in. And I refilled my Pink Grapefruit. You can see it's much more juicy than the others. I don't have refills for all the other ones, and I could see because there was a little bit of, I think that's the chalk left on the foam on top. But again, you can use oxides, you can use distress inks, you can use Memento, or new ones that I found yesterday in my shop, that is a card deco. Also very nice and new, so very juicy. I'm wiping off the excess from the white, so my sentiment is white again, or my embossing is white. And yeah, I like this gradation. It's pink to red. You can of course adapt it to your mother's taste. Maybe her favorite color is teal or purple or yellow, orange, whatever. I don't even know what my mom's favorite color was. Shame on me. But yeah, I don't have to make mother's cards anymore, so that's okay. And as you hear, I'm still pondering which one to use, and I'm using my grid to line it up straight. But I saw that it wasn't 100% straight, and that bothered me. So again, I thought about the 10-year-old boy making this, and I thought it would be whimsical if it's just crooked everywhere. So I made the sentiment crooked or tilted or not off center, because I'm counting squares here, and I'm trying to use the bottom line. But then, yeah, I thought maybe I can do this one straight, which probably gave me the idea to do the other one as well. And I said that in other videos, if you're not sure if it's straight, just put it on an angle and make it a feature. And now you will see my I didn't brush my hair, unbrushed hair, because I was going in very close to make sure it's straight, and I was trying to straighten it out, and then it went into a curve. And yeah, I'm sorry, I did it when I was still in my PJs as well. You can't see them, but I didn't get dressed yet, and I didn't brush my hair. I did brush my teeth though. That's the first thing I do. Anyway, doesn't matter, too much information I guess, but also the mother sticks into the ink blended pen a little bit, because I thought, that's also whimsical and childlike, maybe, actually I didn't notice it, but yeah, this is my story. I'm sticking with it. And Mother's Day is different for some people. It's already been. For us, it's the second Sunday in May, so that's why I'm showing this. But you could also do pa, because there's a P and an A and a O, so pop, and there's no N, so nana, maybe not so much, but you might have similar sets and just use those. I thought about maybe doing an embossed and die cut mama on top, but I decided against it, so I left it as it is. I'm heat setting the Versamagic Onyx Black ink, of course, and I am rounding the corners. So here I'm off getting my corner rounder, and I'm just doing the bottom ones, because I said I'm lining it up with the top of my card. I thought that would look nice. I'm using Versamagic foam tape to mount it. And you could of course just use tape runner, but I think it's nice to have a little bit of a dimension. And then I thought, as I line it up, maybe it's nice to round the corners of the card base as well, and just the front ones. I think that looks nice. And then of course a few enamel dots with glitter in this time, in a triangular fashion where there's room to put them between the letters, because as I said, the spacing is not completely perfect, or today you can see there's a few that are crossing each other, and there's a few that's more boom, but yeah, then that one was a bit big though to fit anywhere, so I went for a smaller one. And that's the card finished. So I would like to say thank you for watching, and happy Mother's Day if you're still celebrating, and well, hope you like it. I will see you again next week. Bye.